And we're live. Hey Matt, how's it going? I got
Hello.
the old TV out, hooked Matt up. I had to get those that old connector, that UHF VHF kind of those prongs with the screws and patch you in. Nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Nobody.
All right, yeah, I don't think the audio is doubling, so we should be all set. All right. So how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Good. Up to any board game shenanigans or anything?
We played more Black Sword Hack
Oh,
on this
nice.
weekend. Yeah. That's what this map behind me is from.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
You get that
We,
set up on Alchemy? Are you running it?
no,
What do
no,
you...
no. I just made it in Incarnate, and then we played in real life.
Oh, you're playing. Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
This was a Pictish village that kind of blew up by the end of the night.
Nice. I see you get some use out of the Conan minis. Would you use
No,
anything? No?
we're so lazy. One of our friends has those giant boxes of Pathfinder standees,
Oh, yeah.
so we just use those.
Ah, nice.
We're lazy.
Nice. Yeah, we did that for Starfinder. Those work pretty well because there's it's diverse enough that even if it's not exactly the thing, you can visually identify it.
Yeah.
So
The labels are hilarious,
mhm.
because they're like clever rogue, and it's like a kid with a hoe in his hand or something, and you're like, okay.
You'd never suspect him. That's why he's clever. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. It's funny too that Pathfinder, like, they leaned into their pawns and always release sets of pawns for all their adventure paths and everything. But then they also, I think, WizKids is doing like a blind box series of pre-painted miniatures too. So that's kind of, which way do you go? You might be sabotaging your, I guess, to make it more one-to-one with D&D.
WizKids charges so much it could drive me back to painting though.
Oh yeah.
They're not cheap.
Mm-hmm. And they're not great too. They're real hit or miss. No. Yeah. So yeah, pre-painted stuff. There was like an era of, I think, like the aughts, like 2000s. There was this era of pre-painted. They weren't insanely expensive yet, and they were pretty decent. But that didn't last long. I think because it was hard to do and hard to maintain.
Yeah.
And WizKids pretty much cornered the market with that, like, blotch for the eye, blotch for the eye, blotch for the mouth.
Well, yeah, their first run, like Mage Knight miniatures.
Oh yeah,
they just look like they melted Crayolas over parts of the miniature or something.
Yeah. When they got good, they were actually doing like dry brushing and washes and stuff. You could tell like they were doing passes of like different effects. So that was amazing. But yeah, it was just unsustainable. And I don't know if they've ever decided, how much of an audience there is. Like if the audience is enough into the hobby, because there are definitely people that hate the hobby part of miniatures. So they pre-painted is a nice option, but there's maybe not enough of those people to support an expensive production of pre-painted stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there was someone was doing a kind of complaining about Games Workshop video and about how fast they're releasing stuff. And so that they get their FOMO engine going and they release stuff, and what they're showing you, is the studio painted set of everything that's in the box. You open the box, it's just a bunch of gray sprues, and you're like, wow, that's a lot of work. And then you set it aside. It's like, but their hype machine works. And so basically, so I was thinking about that. If you can like remove yourself, like give yourself like an outsider brain, and show people what that is, that's ridiculous. Like that's a ridiculous thing. It's like if you bought a once a week you bought a military, like a full like Sherman tank miniature, or like World War II fighter plane. If you bought one of those every week and just stacked them up and never, it's just like you open them like, wow, that looks good, that'll be fun to put together, and then close the box. It's this weird treadmill.
And they don't really care what you do with them, right? They just want you to
Yeah.
buy 'em.
Yeah, well, and they even the funny thing is that you remember, I think we reported last year or maybe the year before, they have their recycling program now. So they're basically like, bring your old miniatures in, and we'll, ecologically in a ecologically friendly way, we will, deal with them. So they have they'll melt them down or whatever. But
Wow.
that's insane. That literally means, and so someone on Reddit or somewhere, or one of the other social media, stuck their camera phone in one of those things and took a photo, and it's a bunch of like classic, like, green skin, orc miniatures and stuff, like half painted or unpainted. And he said he just wanted to like reach his hand in there and start, pulling stuff out. But yeah, they really don't care what you do, and if you would be happy opening a box and it being there's nothing inside, they would continue to sell you that.
Oh yeah. Genuine grim dark air.
Yeah, it's really bizarre.
They should call that recycling program like the shame wagon.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, you can
Every
be
miniature painter knows the shame.
you can be forgiven. Yeah, we will pardon you of your shame. Just bring it to us and deposit it. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, but it's funny. It's got such value because that guy took the whole truck and put it in storage because he knew all that gray plastic was valuable to somebody. So yeah, it's very weird. It's just I don't like the fact that there's no they don't have any like clearance or sales or anything. It's just pitch it in a landfill. We're not going to even spend the money to like distribute this to overstock or wholesale, any sort of clearance distribution. Just bury it. It doesn't cost that much to make. So yeah, that was weird. But yeah, that whole thing just struck me as it's so odd how they get that going, and then so they give you something that has some value, has some new rules, or has some new element, that will, affect your army, for your list building or whatever, and then they'll just take it away in the list, in the rules, in the rules changes and FAQs. They'll just take it away, and then you'll just be left with, and especially if you've gone through, very preciously painted these things and base them, and then they're unplayable. That's insane. Yeah. I first noticed that with War Machine, I think, where the units felt like they may as well just be like trading cards. They may as well just be a picture on a card. But you had to go through so much work, especially when it was resin and metal, so much work to get those miniatures on the table, and they, were very disposable as far as like in the game meta and everything. That's an odd.
I feel like they're trying to get Cubicle 7 on that same wagon too, but
yeah,
I'll save that powder for a little later.
Yeah, that's a weird that's a really weird move. Yeah. You first sent me that link and I was like, what's the thinking there? So yeah, we'll talk about that. We will be back to Warhammer shortly. Oh yeah, if Miguel is in the chat, the other major war game is having some fun as well. Actually, they're following.
He was talking about Catalyst.
Yeah, Catalyst. Yeah, Catalyst Labs, whatever their Catalyst Labs games. Yeah, they did the same thing that Warhammer did, where they did this game is for everyone except Nazis and fascists. So don't play our game if you're, if you discriminate based on anything. They gave that list. So that typical kind of like, and I think we even talked about this before. It's like, if you have to say that, who are you talking to? Like, who do you think your customers really are? If you have to say, stop being fascist, you fascists. Right. Yeah. So I don't know. But they did that. They did that whole thing where BattleTech is for everyone. That same line where they their inclusive statement. So what do you think that is? What motivates companies to do that?
It's cheaper than paying one of those DEI consultants.
That's true. Yeah, you just have to write a paragraph and put it on Twitter, right?
I think a lot of times it's just a checkbox, really.
Mm-hmm.
so they can say they did it and move on.
Yeah. So if anybody says, "Oh yeah, some of your players in this community are a little unsavory," it was like, well, we told them not to be. So
Yeah, we said be cool.
yeah. So I don't know. It seems like a weird virtue signal kind of thing that like, yeah, if you have to say that, but it's funny that the companies that do that have games that have like fascism built into the setting. You know, it's like they're war games, and of course there's going to be, and depending on like what faction you're playing, there's all kinds of interpretations of who are the bad guys or who are the worst guys, I guess, of the setting. And so it's like, well, yeah, play fascist, but don't be fascist. That's
Right.
yeah, that's the trouble I think they're having. I don't know. But yeah, it's strange. But yeah, Miguel said that he suspected this will be a first step to try to catalyst to try to get their hands around the community, and then they can start going after 3D printing and stuff. You know, once they've said, okay, now that all the bad people are gone, now all the people that are not buying our models, you need to go too.
Oh,
So we'll see what happens.
wow.
But with a game that old, that seems really hard, you know, because there's still old metal miniatures out there. I think Ralpartha, I think the Ralpartha UK website still, you can still buy. They're still casting or still have stock of some of the old metal BattleTech stuff from the 80s. So
Yeah. The big game store in my town, I was still selling them until a few years ago. I think.
wow, yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what actually happens. But I think that's pretty foolish of them with that massive success they had from their Kickstarter campaign. They shouldn't be going after their community at all. They shouldn't be trying to control that at all because they've already got a money printing machine. All they have to do is keep releasing expansions to BattleTech, and they'll get lots of support. And now they're going to start dividing their fan base because when some people don't respond well to scolding, and I think that's what that kind of stuff is. So we'll see. Yes. Right. So I mentioned this before. We started finally. The trilogy, the Apostle of Insanity trilogy, is complete. So last night I posted the final chapter. So it only took me a couple weeks late, but all 36 chapters are now up there. And I uploaded a big 11-hour single file for members only as well. So you can listen to the whole thing as one giant audiobook in the member section, which is easy and cheap to get, and I'm still having trouble getting it on Patreon because Patreon hates big files. They want everything little, small and cut up. So I can't do, even if I compress the audio, I can't even do an MP3 of the compressed audio because it still goes above their file limit. I think I have to pay money if I want to deal with bigger files. Yeah, I got to pay money. So they want me to subscribe to Patreon to post things. Yeah. So but that's all set. So I'll take a few months break, get my sanity back, and see what else. Because there is another series of books that might be fun to do. They wrote a bunch of books based on the Vor the Maelstrom game. So that setting is it's like worlds collide. It's like everything's sucked into this maelstrom. So it's kind of a mashup of different alien factions and everything. So they actually did a series of books about that too. So we'll see. We'll take a look at the quality, of those, and see if they'd be worth doing.
The way those RPG or wargame novels got cranked out for a while there, it's just kind of like, how can these all be good? I don't think they're all good.
Oh yeah, and remember that the video game books and stuff too. There's so many like Halo novels and stuff. Yeah.
Magic the Gathering was pumping out novels.
Yeah, that's true. I can't believe that hasn't started again with the advent of AI. You can write you can write one of those cheesy licensed novels pretty quick. Just give it some real basic. Here's a list of characters. Here's an outline. Go for it. It'll probably be as lifeless as some of that stuff that came out in the 90s. Oh, man. But yeah, it's fun to, especially games that the lore didn't get a lot of attention. Like there's interesting details that maybe the editors or whatever, have the writers put in those books. So I thought, especially in those Mutant Chronicle ones, those 3 books, there was a lot of interesting. You never really felt exactly how the tension worked between the corporations and how they like negotiated with each other. Publicly, they were hating each other, but behind the scenes, they were working with each other to get things done, and how the denial of that kind of the encroaching evil, the Dark Legion, kind of entering the solar system and taking these over. Basically, it was just like, no, that doesn't exist. That's just made up. It's fake news. Like that was the whole initial approach. So people didn't believe it because they were worried about, kind of widespread panic in all of the colonies. So they just like played it down until it was inevitable, until there were demons at your door. They were basically denying it up until the last minute. So I like that. I think that would be a fun, with a tabletop, I think that would be really fun too, like having things just unravel around you. Mm-hmm. And so that's probably what they're going to do. They're going to do the Luna City kind of detective based story, the one that that they're working on. So that's probably what it's going to be is, and that'll be nice because it'll be a little bit, it'll be investigation and supernatural kind of demonic forces, and so you'll be trying to be a police officer and a detective, and things will just be unraveling and going a little bit worse than you imagined.
Detectives in a sci-fi setting where things are unraveling.
Ooh, who could that be? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, speaking of interesting fiction, licensed fiction. Yeah, I just read the first 2 chapters of Blade Runner 2, Beyond Human or whatever. Right away, it's bizarre. It's really, I mean, you can tell. So nobody should complain. If you have complaints about Blade Runner 2049, go and look at that novel and see how badly that could have gone. If they would have done a sequel to Blade Runner in the 90s, this probably would have been, the type of story they would have done. But just to give you an example, it's spoilers, but it happens like right away at the beginning of the book. So it'll be spoiled for you instantly. So,
not gonna read it.
Yeah. So right away, Gaff's funeral is the first event that happens.
All right, I'm already out. They killed Gaff.
Yes, and what's his face is drinking the chief. I'm blanking on his name. So a mysterious figure comes into his office. And he's just gotten back from the funeral, so he's pounding drinks. He pours a drink for this mysterious figure. He drinks it, and then he shoots him. Then he shoots the chief in the chest, so the chief is now dead. And then we cut to the woods where Deckard is collecting kindling, and then he goes and cuddles next to a coffin that's in the middle of this little cabin, and it's revealed that he and Rachel decided that that they came up with this schedule where he brings her out of this hibernation for an hour once a month to extend her lifespan.
Huh? What?
It's super weird and morbid and just like, where is this going? Yeah. Yeah.
This was written a while back, right?
This 90s. Yeah. Mid 90s.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you know who wrote it? Is it anyone we know?
No, I don't think a big name. Yeah, like J.W. Asker or something like that. Yeah, I can check real quick. Not somebody that I immediately recognize, but it could be. K.W. Jeter. So I don't. Yeah, I don't recognize the name. So it may be somebody that did a bunch, or maybe because it's a big publisher though. That's the thing that's crazy is it's fantastic fiction. Let's see.
And it was in the 90s?
Yes, yeah, mid 90s.
So there was like no Blade Runner stuff going on in the 90s. So that I wonder if he just wrote it on spec and they said the hell with it, we'll do it.
There are 3 of these books. Holy shit. I thought there was only one. I've only ever seen anybody talk about one. There are 3 Blade Runner sequel novels. Wow. Yeah. So this guy's did some original work, and then Star Wars books, Blade Runner books, Star Trek books, comic books. Yeah. So
everyone's written a Star Wars book. I think I have to start mine.
You're right. Yeah. It's not difficult to get in. There are 3 of these books. Oh wow, that's crazy. Yeah, they're published by one of the big publishing houses. So it's not like one of those like weird labels that just like got some shady rights and crank stuff out. Wow. Replicant Knights. Number 3 is Replicant Knight, and number 4 is Eye and Talon.
Yeah, hard pass.
I'm sure they go completely sideways. So 94, 96, and 2000 Blade Runner novels. Oh wow, that's funny. But but after that was that kind of the painfulness of that, I went back and listened a little bit to the audiobook, the Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep audiobook. And I think the thing they really captured well from that original source text is the tension between humans and androids. I think it was a really good choice of a Free League to build into the tabletop RPG. Make sure there's a tension there, because that's the thing that you really come away with from that book is they're constantly questioning each other and questioning themselves about their limitations and who's better, who's more capable. The only thing that's hard in that book is, I guess because it was written in the 60s, they use, instead of replicants, they're saying Andes instead of androids. Yeah, so yeah. Andes all the time. I'm retiring I got 3 Andes to retire. That sounds silly, but
didn't he have like a replicant sheep living on his roof or something weird like that?
Yeah, so that's where the artificial, so they have,
I haven't read that book in 30 years.
So just to keep up appearances, because people of status, people of sophistication have real animals, but nobody can, you can't ask someone if their animal is real or not. So people will buy artificial animals and say, because first when the radioactive dust kind of killed everything on Earth, first the owls died, and then gradually they're just like certain types of animals that don't exist, and then there's kind of status levels of real animals that you can buy. The neighbor on the other rooftop has a horse, and they have an electric sheep, which they've lied about for the longest time, saying that it's real. But finally, Deckard buys a goat, a real goat. He takes all the money from retiring the first 3 replicants and buys a goat for an insane amount of money. He's like in debt up to his eyeballs, and his wife is overjoyed. The scene is great, that how it plays out with finally, this is, I can't believe, because they've been using the thing that doesn't exist in the movie setting is the mood organ. So basically there's this thing that probably gives you an injection of some sort of chemicals or whatever. You dial on this mood organ, and it gives you, it gives you a dosage of stimulants or depressants or something, and you basically choose how you want to be. And you also have a recommended schedule, like you're given this prescribed schedule based on your work and whatever you have to do. And so finally they've kind of, we don't even need the mood organ anymore because we have a real goat. So it's this whole, amazing, keeping up with the Joneses kind of, 50s style thing kind of built in. So I think that the title comes from, because Deckard's life, he aspired so much to own a real animal. So do replicants dream of owning fake animals, or do they? Because they don't respect. There's a lot of examples in the story of replicants not respecting life, so they wouldn't have respect for real animals, and they would just kill them without thinking about what was being lost, because life doesn't have a value to them. And so, would they cherish an electric sheep? Is kind of the gimmick of that. But yeah, there's a lot of good. The scenes of retiring the replicants are really powerful in the story and then in the novel. So I think the tabletop really got that across, and I really want to make sure that, and I think you'll feel that, especially this case file, you'll feel a lot of that back and forth tension. So it's fun. What they did with it was surprising, because especially looking at these sequel novels, there's really bad media So basically, there's 3 sequel novels, and the PC game were the only Blade Runner media that existed until the 2000s, and then there was some animation, kind of building up on the way to the sequel movie. So there's not a lot of source material, but they did a pretty good job of like pulling the interesting pieces out of, especially the PC game. I think that's a much more worthy sequel than the novels.
Thanks for jumping on that grenade and reading it, because I'm not going to read it.
Yeah, it's brutal. I don't know what I've like recently. I've really been into looking at bad fiction, bad IP fiction. Yes. All right. So, are you ready to?
Ready.
Talk this week. Yeah, so sorry. Chris has an insane work schedule. Hey, Chris, in the chat. So we couldn't meet this week. So yeah, kind of just doing this from home. While I think there needs to be manacles or some kind of restraining device to connect Chris to a desk to actually like maintain that kind of work schedule. I can't believe what they're doing, but hopefully things will be back to normal. I think there's a lot of people out because of sickness. The kind of flu season is not relenting here yet, so a lot of people are out.
Did Japan not embrace the work from home movement?
They're really anti that. I'm surprised. Yeah, even people that are able to pull that off, they can only do it a few days a week, like maybe 3 at the most out of a 6-day work week. No, Japan really wants to be able to like watch you, like surveil you, and your manager has to directly be able to scold you. Yeah, so they never remote work is very rare. Even during the pandemic, like there was Google Japan totally shut down, and then the Rakuten or Japanese kind of tech companies were completely open, and everyone was coming into the office in the height of the pandemic. Yeah, so they didn't give you a single break. I don't think in America, any tech workers have gone back to the office. I think everyone at Google and everyone is still working from home. They have that huge campus, and I think everyone is still remote workers.
Well, Google like laid off people and shut down part of their campus. So like they stopped their daycare and everything.
Oh,
so they're definitely changing how they work.
That's crazy. Yeah, I remember reading, not tabletop related, just Google bashing related, that once they let people work remotely, a lot of people like headed for lower cost of living areas in California and even outside of California. And Google said, whoa, wait. We're not going to pay you the same salary if you're living, if you're going to be living in Riverside, California, as opposed to San Francisco or a suburb of San Francisco. So they adjusted people's salaries based on their zip codes after they found out where they were living. Yeah.
That's brutal.
That's I was surprised how sad. But when you've got a technology company, there's people that just love to figure that stuff out. We could save money if we adjusted everyone's salary. Yeah, so no one benefited.
But people are already like pre-pandemic. They were already moving out to Sacramento, commuting to the Bay Area from Sacramento, which is nuts. That's like you're working 2 shifts, and one of your shifts is your commute.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I haven't been to San Francisco in forever, but I've heard that the Bay Area is just all was at some time just all Google buses and homeless. It's just all Google employees and homeless people. Nobody else existed in the Bay Area. That's depressing. All right. Well, let's move on to slightly less depressing things and do the weekly. Welcome to the weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Matt.
Hey, Matt. So Chris couldn't be with us this week, and Matt was kind enough to fill in, and I got my old TV out, got it hooked up. He's in full NTSC video, looking good.
No remote.
Yeah, there's no remote, and actually I broke the dial, so I have to use pliers to turn the channels. Yeah. Oh, that's a blast from the past.
Ooh, Gen X pain. Yeah.
So this week on the weekly, Rebel Moon versus Netflix, or I guess it's Evil Genius versus Netflix. Old World RPG, Fall of the Imperium, and Guildball Print and Play. So just a few, odd little gaming and tabletop stories. So we'll start with Evil Genius. So the Evil Genius Games and Netflix, we talked about their dispute. Evil Genius claiming that Netflix just kind of walked away. The person that was their liaison stopped. They left Netflix, and so they were left with somebody else managing what was going to be a tabletop game to support the release of Rebel Moon. And now we're in the afterglow of the release of Rebel Moon, the first part.
Afterglow?
And I don't think anybody is...
from a mushroom cloud? Or?
Right. Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to be associated with Rebel Moon in any way. So maybe Evil Genius, they dodged a bullet in this case. So they had a lawsuit. They sued Netflix because they did a ton of work, and basically Netflix says, we own everything you did and we're not paying you. And their excuse early on was a breach of contract. They said there was some sort of reveal at a game convention that wasn't approved by Netflix, but it was. So there was some miscommunication, confusion, and they used that reveal of some materials from this tabletop game as a breach of contract and claimed they weren't going to pay them and that they were taking everything that they had already produced, Netflix owned. So in a joint statement, Netflix and Evil Genius have updated us regarding the canceled Rebel Moon role-playing game. So this resolution has been amicable because Netflix is the only profitable streaming service, so they have deep pockets and lots of investors. So what came out of this is an out-of-court settlement. Yay! So what that means is nobody knows. Nobody knows a dollar amount. Nobody knows the terms. Nobody knows what's happening. So they canceled the license that Evil Genius had. And this was, so officially they said that the contract was canceled in May of 2023. And Netflix asserted ownership over all the work. And I guess they filled in so many gaps in this like patchwork, pastiche world that Zack Snyder had created that they had to do a lot of work to actually make it a playable universe. But Evil Genius has indicated in their statement that it may be incorporated into a future cinematic work. So we'll get to that. So the statement reads, the parties are pleased that they were able to amicably resolve this dispute. Netflix thanks Evil Genius for their hard work and professionalism. And then they put it right into the into the bin. But there was a strange thing that came from Evil Genius said that we will not be releasing the Rebel Moon game, but stay tuned for more amazing cinematic adventures and an upcoming sci-fi project. Thank you again for your amazing support. And then they also instructed retailers that they will be receiving in the next 7 to 10 days. There'll be a follow-up email that will show them how to get refunds for their pre-ordering this game, which does not exist. So do you think they will attempt to recover some of this lost labor and repurpose, just do a find and replace for everything in this world and release it?
They're the ones that did those hero games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the
Everyday Hero,
Rambo game and all that. Yeah. So they're already recycling. Yeah, I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
I think that the settlement,
mm-hmm.
I don't know obviously, but the settlement by Netflix standards was probably like a pittance.
Yes.
Like it might feel good to this little game company,
mm-hmm.
but it was probably a walk in the park. They're probably like, we're gonna if you don't take this, you're gonna go out of business trying to sue us,
right?
You
right.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably nothing. Plus, I bet you the designers are like, well, did we really want to try to gamify space vaginas anyway?
Right. Yeah, that was the probably one of the worst opening shots. I mean, when you've got a sci-fi thing that you're saying, oh, this was a Star Wars idea, you got to have a good opening shot. And that weird peeling of space was not something anybody needed to see.
Do you think they handed a script to what's her name, Kathleen Kennedy, and they're like, she looks at the first page and is like, "We open on a space field, a vagina unfolds in space." What?
Yeah, that wasn't the female perspective she was looking for in her space opera. Yeah, so it's too bad, but it does also make you think: what if Rebel Moon would have been incredibly successful? You know, this would have been a really big lost opportunity to have a successful IP that they were doing the tabletop version of, and the fact that it's so lukewarm, like the reception was so lukewarm, and no one even cares like where this story is going next. I think they may have dodged a bullet. It may have been good.
All buzz is gone.
Mm-hmm.
All buzz is gone now.
It's really strange. So it's just going to be something that is floating around there on Netflix, and then there's going to be a director's cut extended version, and there's going to be a sequel, and people are like, "Oh, right, yeah." It's weird. It's weird how that just evaporated.
Oh yeah, that was a thing, and now they want me to watch an extra 2 hours of this thing.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Like we were talking offline earlier, like I was literally excited for the possibility that I might get like a 10-minute dinner scene in the Dune extended edition,
Mm-hmm. Right.
But no, Zack Snyder's going to throw this freaking 3 extra hours or whatever it is at it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's weird. And that's strange. I guess Peter Jackson was like kind of the first person known for doing that when they did the extended Lord of the Rings editions, and you bought this same movie twice basically. But now, because of the Justice League thing, now Zack Snyder is the Snyder Cut is the shorthand for this extended edition, and I can't believe they forced that. Like, if he had some investment or was like creatively in control of this project, they basically said, release a really tightly edited thing that doesn't have very much detail in it, and then do a bigger one later. I don't know how that would build hype. I mean, you've seen the story, and now you're just going to see the story with a little bit longer, exposition dumps. It's like, okay.
So every one of those supporting characters gets their one line that's supposed to encapsulate their whole purpose for being.
Right.
Yeah, make sure we slip all those in.
Yeah, it's really weird. It wasn't interesting or compelling enough. None of those characters that I want to see more of them. So it's weird that and the fact that it's going to come later, it's going to come after part 2 is even more strange. You'd think they would do the extended version to build hype for part 2, and then they're just like putting everything in the wrong order and not really understanding why you would even do that. So
my favorite Snyderverse movie is the one he didn't direct, which I think is hilarious. Did you see that Army of Thieves movie?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed that movie, and it's just because it wasn't really him.
Right. Yeah, I didn't like that Army of the Dead at all. I thought the characters were so terrible, and they totally didn't even use the zombie thing particularly well. But yeah, but that prequel, I guess it was a prequel, right? Because those characters died. That prequel was fun. Yeah, it was very. It
was like a caper movie, and it was amusing that it had the zombie thing going on in the background.
Right.
But it was on another continent, so nobody cared.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I wonder what this is going to do. But people have had kind of quietly, I think like Michael Bay and a lot of really big directors have had huge Netflix flops. Like Netflix has thrown hundreds of millions of dollars at them to do an exclusive movie, and it just was nothing. So yeah, I don't know. I wonder if this will have much effect on his reputation, or the kind of projects he can get done.
No, he's. It's like Elon, right? He's gonna always have this certain cadre of stands, that are just like whatever he does, they're behind, kind of thing.
Yes. Well, talking about things that are mysterious and out of order and don't make any sense because they're not really supporting or helping each other, we got a little discussion of the old world, Warhammer: The Old World, which is a re-release of the Warhammer Fantasy Battles that Games Workshop brought back, and now we found out, okay, well, they moved the story, the setting in the timeline back because, basically the end times. So both settings of 40K and fantasy were interesting because they were, the kind of, 2 minutes to midnight kind of setting where the world is ending and you're living in this shit that is falling apart and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And that's the fun, the tension, and the grimdark, the hopelessness of the situation. And so they decided to take, when they released a fantasy setting, to rewind it. So this is kind of before the incursion of chaos. So chaos isn't going to be this thing that's already spread and come down from the northern reaches and messed things up. It's just going to be, the kingdoms and the basically, humans versus greenskins, like, Warcraft 3 or whatever. It's going to be rewound to that kind of state of this fantasy world. And Cubicle 7, who does the 4th edition of the Warhammer role-playing game, fantasy role-playing game, has said that this is kind of a very small statement. They did a Facebook post with a few pictures and a logo and said, we're negotiating with Games Workshop to do a Warhammer: The Old World RPG. So, okay. Can't you just do that in 4th edition? Can't you just have a setting book that would rewind it? No. So maybe they want to do something different, like mechanically, like, have a D6 dice pool or do something that's not, D100 or something. I don't know what they're thinking is, but yeah. So to support this reboot, there will be a second Warhammer. A third Warhammer Fantasy tabletop RPG produced by Cubicle 7, because they not only do they have the 4th edition of Warhammer Fantasy, they also have an Age of Sigmar RPG. So Age of Sigmar Soulbound. So basically, the end times came, the old world died, and then the Age of Sigmar was born, and it looks a lot more like World of Warcraft and is, just silly in its lore. The lore, I guess it's getting a little bit better, but when it was originally released, nothing made any sense, and the game wasn't even really playable. It was just everybody run to the middle, run to the middle of the table, and it was more of a mosh pit than because once you lose the rank and file, then you're just kind of 40K'ing into a big mass. And because you don't have ranged, because the ranged is not such a thing in fantasy. So yeah, the statement that they released, Cubicle 7 says, exploring a new era with Warhammer: The Old World is an honor and a privilege. As huge fans of the classic Warhammer setting, we're thrilled to be working with Games Workshop on the new chapter of such a beloved setting. That was Dominic McDowell from Cubicle 7 in a press release.
I can translate that for you if you want.
Oh, yeah. What did he mean?
Well, what he meant is, we sure are glad we're still getting money from these Games Workshop products, and we don't want to do anything to get our license pulled. Yes,
right. Yes, so whatever they're doing, we 100% support it. So, yeah, I wonder what they're going to do with this. And already, I think eventually people may be happy with this re-release, but as of yet, no one has seen it. No one has it in their hands. The books and everything, they botched the launch of it. It's delayed, I think, in North America. I don't think Japan's getting it until next month, but nobody has it. The only people that have it are people involved in the hype machine. So the YouTubers and social media people, they all got their kits and their books early so they could show them off to get you excited to pre-order. But I don't think anybody's gotten their pre-order yet. They are having logistical problems in North America, and things sold out immediately. So if you go to the website and you're like, oh, wow, Warhammer Fantasy is back, everything is sold out except the Pegasus Knights. So you can buy 3 Pegasus Knights for $90 if you would like. And that's basically the only way you could participate in this new re-release of The Old World, is buying old models, these old sculpts of models from 30 years ago that will cost you $30 a piece, depending on the region you're located in. Sounds good so far.
Yeah. Oh man, because how many 40K RPGs do they have now? 2 or 3?
Yeah, they're doing 2. They've got Wrath and Glory, and then they just released that Maledictum something. Yeah, the one where you're
Yeah.
playing kind of lower on the totem pole characters.
So that's 2 different 40Ks,
Mm-hmm.
2 different. Well, I guess sort of 2 different fantasies.
Mm-hmm.
3 if you count Age of Sigmar.
Right.
Yeah, it's pointless. It's all you're doing is creating brand confusion. I actually
Mm-hmm.
they put up in their Instagram post announcing this. I put in the comments, I was like, "Aren't you worried about brand confusion?"
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they didn't reply or
Mm-hmm.
anything, of course. But I'm just like, come on now, like you said, they could have just did old world expansion book or box set,
Yes.
like. And
Right.
also, if you don't have chaos as an imminent threat, you really kind of gut a lot of the what makes Warhammer different
Mm-hmm.
than a lot of other fantasy games.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Every fantasy game is going to give you an orc to stab. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, that's really true. That ignoring a lot of the, kind of, so there was a list once the timeline was kind of revealed for this relaunch of the old world. There was a list of the legacy armies. So they gave you a PDF for the other factions that aren't going to be included, aren't going to be part of the storyline and the progression. So the new release, the re-release of Old World is eliminating as a faction the Vampire Counts, the Lizard Men, Skaven, and the Ogre Kingdoms, and then of course Dark Elves and Chaos Demons. So that's all gone. And it does make sense that if they're going to relaunch this and put some focus on it, they can't support that many factions initially in a launch. That's too much, unless it's only going to be the old miniatures. So it makes sense that they'd want to pare it down. But it looks like they're just specifically trying to not compete with Age of Sigmar. Like they don't want you to buy miniatures you can use in both games. It's very strange. So they're limiting it because when Age of Sigmar, when that transition happened, those old miniatures still existed, and they said, "Well, you can play them. These are the free peoples of Sigmar." Like they came up with ways you could play them in Age of Sigmar with some half-assed rules to keep those old sculpts, selling. But now that they have this, a whole separate system, they revived this old system. It's weird. It's really weird what they're doing. And of course, they can't give attention to like 9 or 10 factions in 2 fantasy settings. It would be insane. But yeah, I don't know. But it's just now they've just got so much stuff. There is a spreadsheet somewhere where someone has slotted in Games Workshop releases for all of these games and all of these settings for like the next 8 to 10 years, and it's got to be insane.
There's whole PowerPoints, I'm sure, that they have for board members projecting their quarterly releases, and I mean, it's stupid.
Yeah, they're just plugging this stuff in, and but they've grown. It's really insane. Like Games Workshop was on some shaky ground, and especially when they killed Old World Fantasy, people are like, what is going on? And they're more popular than ever now, though, in like tournaments and stuff. They have a shot on their website, like you have a video background playing behind, playing in the background of the website of a I don't know if it's a drone or what it is. It's just a camera flying over the event space of a tournament. It's just endless tables of endless people with their armies playing 40K. So it's bigger than ever. But I don't know. I don't know how people are satisfied with what they're doing. But it is the brand. I mean, it's just there are better rule sets. There's better settings. Even there's better games. Depending on your taste. There's things that eliminate some problematic things in settings or let you enjoy a different style of game. But it's not Warhammer. That brand is like so ensconced in that's wargaming. So if you're not playing Warhammer, what are you doing? Why are you wasting your time? So it's yeah.
I'd like to see. I mean, I'm already really skeptical and down on this whole idea, but I'd like to see what system if Cubicle 7 is going to stick with their fourth edition Warhammer the role play system, or they're
Mm-hmm.
going to concoct a totally different system, which would be dumb too, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But like their version of Warhammer is, I'd probably say, my second favorite iteration of it. Like, I think second edition was my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
In third edition, that Fantasy Flight thing. Oh,
The board game?
The worst.
Right. The
Third, yeah, that third edition is what, if Games Workshop was still in the role play business
Mm-hmm.
themselves, that's what they would have made.
Right.
Here, funny dice you can buy, and weird components and cards and crap.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
So I'm curious to see what kind of system it ends up being.
Mm.
But I would not get anywhere near it. If you actually enjoy fourth edition Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, like, why are you wouldn't? I don't think you'd buy it, probably.
Yeah, that's true. So it must be. I don't know, because I don't know who that would be for. Because supposedly bringing the old world back is to bring the old fans who still have those armies, back into the fold, because they didn't make the jump with Age of Sigmar into that weird, wacky world. So they want to play rank and flank fantasy war games. So they've got that back, but I don't know. I mean, I think, I don't know. I haven't seen the full rule set, but Kings of War is a pretty impressive rule set for rank and flank, and War Master is if you want it old school, War Master is a very satisfying way to play that, Warhammer world on a tinier scale. So you have bigger forces. So I don't know quite where where they really see the necessity of this. Cubicle 7 did say, though, that they will continue to support 4E, their Warhammer Fantasy 4E, even while dedicating resources to the new RPG. Several upcoming supplements and releases will be coming out in the coming years, was part of their release. So, and they already, I think I just saw a Greenskins release. There's like a Tribes and Tribulations or something. There's some source book for goblins and orcs and snotlings, and I think even trolls and things in 4th edition Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. So they are still kind of releasing stuff, but then they're just going to have to do that again for the old world fantasy. I don't know. Yeah.
So it's like they're hoping these poor rubes will buy both.
Yeah.
Do you have the Goblin book for 4th? Yeah. Do you have it for Old World? Oh.
It's really weird. And it's almost like they would be, if it is going to be a different system or whatever, like dual releases would make the most sense. But I guess if it's different in the timeline, you can't do that if it's significantly different in the timeline. But I don't know. Yeah.
And also, the Imperium, the human empire part of it, they have this very kind of almost steampunky thing going too. That if they're going so far back, are they gonna still have that stuff?
Right.
Because that was one of the other things that differentiated Warhammer Roleplay was it was sort of this very late Middle Ages, early Renaissance vibe,
Right.
Plus it got a little extreme steampunk too. But that other fantasy games didn't have. And if they're going to go back, I don't get it. I don't see. You're just going to make a fantasy game. That's all you're doing.
Yeah, right. And that was the whole reason they killed it, and they did Age of Sigmar so they could just rename everything and have sea elves instead of high elves, and steampunk air dwarves instead of dwarves. They wanted to rename everything and flavor it so that they could say this is our unique, a legally defensible iteration. I don't know. It's weird. And I think Cubicle 7 is just going to get burnt. They're just going to invest a lot of stuff, and they're going to pull the rug out from under them, or just, they're going to lose licenses to certain things, depending on how this stuff is going. But I guess for Games Workshop, the gravy train never ends. They see this as an endless money machine that Great Plastic will continue to make their investors and shareholders so happy for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
But now let's look forward to the fall of the Imperium. That's what everyone is looking
I think
forward
we were
to.
just talking about that.
Yeah, we were
Really.
hoping. Yeah, we were hoping to see that. But yes, so a new release and kind of to correspond with the movie release. So we're talking about Modiphius. Their Dune Adventures in the Imperium is getting a new campaign book. And this campaign book takes place, it's basically the rise of Muad'Dib. So it's Dune, Fall of the Imperium, and the events of Dune Part 2, the theatrical release, the Denis Villeneuve movie, will kind of line up with this. So it's and I kind of like what they're doing with this and how they're letting you play in this world. So this is their next campaign book. The movie is coming out in theaters March 1st. I'm not sure worldwide how accurate that date is. Probably North America. March 1st. March 15th, the Fall of the Imperium book is coming out. And of course, if you pre-order, you'll have the PDF right away so you can read ahead. But what this will let you do is put your existing characters or existing house through the events, basically the fall of the Padishar Empire, the Emperor Shaddam IV. So basically, his fall and the rise of Muad'Dib. And they also, Modiphius was also promoting their starter set, which I don't think sold very well, but it's a neat idea. And I really wanted to, it's kind of something you have to do physically because there's so many components. But they came up with this deluxe starter set called Agents of Dune, where you have a pre-built house, or you can create your own original house, and you either can basically, depending on how the players want to go, supplant the Atreides, like replace one of the existing houses, and play, through events that are happening in the world of that setting. And supposedly in that box is everything you need to get the players and everyone like completely up to speed on the game. So it's kind of a step-by-step building your characters, building the house, and then having it interact, in the setting. And I thought that was interesting. So if you have done that, if you are playing the pre-built house from that set or have your own original one, now this book will allow you to be affected by what happened to the fall of House Atreides and the rise of Muad'Dib. So yeah, kind of interesting. So the main events may be set, but the fate of your house and your characters is not. So the fall of the Imperium and the rise of Muad'Dib will tear the known universe apart. So you can choose to side with the Fremen against the Imperium or risk the Emperor destroying you as well. So remain loyal for too long and you may face the onslaught of the Fremen jihad. So can your house navigate the plot of webs and treachery to determine its own fate in this time of prophecy and destiny? So it's I think it's interesting and compelling, and I want to see how they did it. This sounds really difficult, so I want to see how they did this. So 144 pages, full color hardcover campaign book, similar to their previous releases, and this will cover the Imperium era all the way to the ascension of Muad'Dib, and it'll also introduce the Quisaradi as a new faction, and kind of give you the state of the known universe after Paul takes the throne. So this is a four acts with each 3 full adventures and some story seeds and expansion ideas how to go from here. So Act 1 is the Gathering Storm. That's Atreides taking control of Arrakis. Muad'Dib. Act 2 is Muad'Dib. Arrakis is under control of the Harkonnens once more after the betrayal. Act 3, the Fall of the Imperium. So spice production has stopped, and basically they bring it the Fremen and Muad'Dib bring Arrakis to a halt. And then Act 4 is War Across a Million Worlds. So Paul Atreides is the new emperor, and everything has changed. So yeah, I like the idea of because you could even be remotely, you could be even very indirectly, and especially if you're a minor house. But these events, the events of this of Muad'Dib's ascension will like ripple across everything. So how are they going to explain that, and how are they going to make that work? So very fun and interesting.
This is really timely because I'm rereading Dune right now.
Oh, cool.
And I'm like, now I'm wondering how far are they going to take this RPG? Are we going to Are we gonna get to
Right.
cover your ears if you don't know how Dune ends up, people?
Yes.
But we're gonna get to big worm paw, and
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, I'm really curious because it does get crazy. Yeah, the setting goes berserk, and then all of the weird supporting like Son Brian Herbert written stuff. I don't know if that's even gonna if
oh
that's gonna
yeah,
figure into this stuff, but yeah. So, but I thought this that starter set. The Agents of Dune box is really interesting because they promote it as no preparation, just open the box and go through it in order, and you're playing Dune. I'm like, really? You think that's gonna work? That is quite a challenge.
that is that's a big brag if you can pull that off.
Right. So yeah, but finally, because we had the pandemic and everything was screwing up schedules. Well, and even Dune Part 2 was delayed. It was supposed to be out in December, but because of the actor strike and they couldn't promote anything, they pushed it until March. So finally, Modiphius is kind of getting some synergy with this license, and they're releasing something timely that actually matches up with the movies.
Yeah, I saw an ad for it on Instagram, and they even made like a little commercial for it.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, finally, things might pay off for this license, which could not have been cheap to produce this Dune game. They've actually produced a lot of materials already. I think there's at least 4 or 5 books, either supporting just source books or supporting directly the campaign that you start with the core set or with this deluxe starter set.
I didn't realize I didn't realize they'd done that much.
Yeah, it's a lot to. I mean, most of it still is Arrakis focused. That's like a core book explaining the Fremen and dynamics of spice and trade and how things worked on Arrakis. But they released a book of the houses to show you the rules for playing. All of the established houses from the book setting, plus like where you could fit in if you wanted to do something original, and then. Some of the political intrigue. So there's a campaign that's more the, less Arrakis based and more just kind of, cloak and dagger and negotiations between houses. So there's a lot of stuff. Yeah. And now this is the setting for the fall of the Padishar Emperor. So yeah, we'll see how this does. I really want to get to you guys, especially because on Alchemy, it's going to look amazing. So I really want to see, yeah. And if they could actually adapt this starter set to Alchemy, that would be really cool because there's so many resources for it, and it's just like a lot of really good. I don't know. It might be hard, but yeah, we got to be playing some Dune eventually. It's on the list. It's in the queue, as they say. All right. Yeah. And the last thing I wanted to mention is a new kind of approach, and we'll see if this is effective or this is just like an act of desperation, what exactly this means. So Guildball, which is basically an alternative, I don't know if it was ever a popular alternative, but an alternative to Blood Bowl, to Games Workshop's Blood Bowl. So Guildball is returning. But Guildball was canceled. So Guildball was abandoned. So Steamforged Games is bringing out bringing its first miniatures game. So this is the first miniatures game that Steamforged did. They're more known for board games and other adventures, but this game was forced into retirement because of just lack of support and kind of pandemic related issues. So originally released in 2015. It's just a 2-player fantasy football miniatures game, more based on European football than rugby or American football like Blood Bowl is. So a little bit more elegant in the movement. There's not so much as bashing people's heads in. And what they are doing now to kind of support the game, bring it out of retirement, and see what kind of interest there still is they're releasing an officially sanctioned line of print-on-demand files and updated rules that will support this new version, all for free. So the co-founders, Matt Hart and Rich Loxham, said that they would love to eventually actively support development again of Guildball if people discover it. So they're going to make it available for free, make it, playable. It's going to be in the best, condition it's been in its life, and see if people ever kind of come back to it as an alternative to Blood Bowl. So free STLs for the Guildball kickoff set, which was their starter set that's been kind of out of print for a while. The Masons and the Brewers. So it's Guildball, so your teams are guilds in kind of in the medieval fantasy set sense. And so they're going to have terrain tokens and measuring sticks, and essentially all of the components that were sold in that original starter box, you're going to have digital or printable versions of. So initially they canceled the game back in 2020, beginning of the pandemic. So the files aren't available yet, but they're going to start showing up on the Steamforge website. So as soon as they show up, I'll put a link in this article. So yeah, it's based on the European soccer, and they originally kickstarted it back in 2014, and then the retail release was 2015. They developed 5 seasons of it. So there's 5 expansions that added one or two guilds every time. And they ended their development and buried the plans for a range of minor guilds in 2020 because of the lack. So initially they said they blamed the COVID pandemic at the time, but they also pointed fingers to the competitive scene. So the competitive scene necessary to kind of support a game like this and get people buying and kind of, keeping up with the new seasons just wasn't materializing, wasn't happening. They said it was a creative space for wild and goofy elements, and they said that was necessary to that's the lifeblood of this, and it wasn't happening. So they said, as the competitive scene, this is a quote, as it began to dominate, the design space for wilder and more fun elements began to shrink. The style of gameplay changed to low risk, ultra conservative play, where the ball was often deliberately sidelined. So I guess their rule system, it became the style of play that was most competitive, was the least interesting. So it made a kind of, pale imitation of Blood Bowl even more pale and weaker. So they said, obviously, Guildball is currently parked in terms of development for us, and the announcement did not go down terribly well when they sidelined it. But that's on me. I wrote the announcement. The message I was trying to convey wasn't the message that people heard. And one of the other co-founders, Roxley, said, we didn't ever intend to blame the community for this. And that's what was taken from it. So we're sorry for that. And we let people down. So I guess, they were kind of responsible for people turning away from the game because they criticized the competitive scene. You guys aren't playing it right.
No, wow.
So the original models were criticized for the thinness of their ankles and the contact points on bases, and basically the overall points balances, the balance of points between the different factions. So they never quite ironed out all of the problems with the game, and just decided to retire it. And one last quote by Hart is, we wanted to recognize the hard work that they've done and the custodianship that they demonstrated over the last 2 or 3 years. And so for now, Guildball will live again on their website. And so you've got a little update to the rules. It's interesting. And I guess that's always a possibility, that the community and the people that become interested in your game kind of take it in a direction you don't really think that wasn't intended. And what are you going to do about it? But if they're supporting it, if they're buying miniatures, if they're, then I guess you have a decision to make. You can either kill the game and criticize the community, or you can, creatively kind of follow that, be inspired by the community and follow what they're doing. Or you can just release a statement that says, you all suck and you should do better. As a customer, you should just do better. Yeah.
Lame.
Yeah.
We based this game on low event European football, and you made it boring. How dare you?
Yes. So I like that the ball was deliberately sidelined. Yes. So it was just Guild. You're just playing Guild. There really wasn't much ball involved. Yeah, so it's funny. Yeah, there was initially there was some support even in Japan. The game never had a localization here; it was only in English, but it did have there was a hobby shop, especially that was running tournaments and really trying to get people involved in it. But yeah, it just it this the kind of setting and the design of it was just very light because it wasn't the kind of heroic scale, kind of crazy miniature fantasy miniatures. It was basically, you know, youngish men and women of a guild wearing the appropriate costume of a blacksmith or a, whatever, a fisherman. And some, some of their things, like the fishermen had nets and things. So there was some thematic things that differentiated the guilds. But yeah, overall, and especially, even painting them up, you didn't get this really like amazing look at that differentiated. They just looked like medieval peasants running around in their work clothes.
Yeah, the thing with Blood Bowl was it was really taken from that tongue-in-cheek part of Warhammer.
Yeah.
I think, I can't prove this, but I think it was inspired by the original Middenheim book that had this game called Snotball in it, where teams would literally they'd have like a snotling tied up in a net, and they would kick it like a soccer ball.
Right.
But anyway, so they took the tongue-in-cheek part of Warhammer and they turned it up to 11, and that was a lot of its appeal. So yeah, this sounds really vanilla compared to that. But I'm noticing that on Noble Knight right now they have box sets for it from like $25 to $60.
Oh wow, yeah.
So, you could get into it if, and this goes back to the whole free STL thing, I still contend that's not a valid strategy. Just that's a good add-on strategy. It's not a strategy to kickstart a game because I still I know one person, and I think it's you, that has a 3D printer. Like, people want them to be everywhere, but they are not everywhere. So I think STLs are a cool thing, and it's a great thing when companies embrace them, but you can't try to relaunch a game on the back of them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think it may be a good way for posterity also to kind of archive games. So you just imagine if all of the original Warhammer Fantasy miniatures, some of the crazy metal and stuff, the wizard with the machine gun, like this crazy citadel stuff, if there were STLs of all of that, so they lived on forever, so anyone could produce them and see them make them physical again. I think that's a great way to make sure that games don't just, disappear into the, however long the plastic or the metal of their miniatures last. Yeah, it's a good way for them to, kind of become immortalized in that way. But yeah, I think you're right. As far as the hurdle is just too big. They still haven't worked out. And especially now where China's economy and manufacturing, because all of the parts and all of everything is basically dependent on China. So you have to get a relationship with a Chinese manufacturer to get replacement parts and be dealing with things. If you want to get heavily into 3D printing, the cost of all of that has gone up, and it's still, you're still dealing with like a lot of weird problems that I don't think that becomes the 3D printing becomes the hobby, not whatever you're making. Like, it's not a means to an end. It's the hobby within itself. Getting good at that and getting that to your machines to reliably produce good results is going to take all of your hobby time away. You're basically not going to be painting and playing any miniatures games when you're spending all your time trying to get the best results possible for these STL files, which are in all sorts of ranges of. They've either been tested and pre-supported or not, and you have to just rely on the quality assurance of the company that put them out, which oftentimes is zero because they have as little experience with it as you do. So yeah, it's a little tricky, but yeah, I thought that was an interesting move. That really stood out as okay, yeah, that would be a way to keep your game, because games do die, and often a company will put the PDF of the core rules on its website, and it just becomes inactive. But in the secondary market, the model kits and things are still floating around there, so you could play a dead game, and it kind of becomes available in a weird way. So this is a more updated version of that. It's like, let's just leave it out there and see if it ever catches on again. If anybody ever wants a game where you don't have to use the ball in a ball based sport.
What is the name of that company again?
Steamforged Games. Yeah,
Steamforged.
Yeah.
So what else? They do other things, right?
Yeah, this was their first miniatures game. They do a lot of board games, and they basically, I think they I hope I'm not confusing. I think they just did they did the Monster Hunter World game, which was really good. They did, but they've also had a few missteps. They did the Dark Souls board game.
Oh, they're the Dark Souls people,
right? and the Dark Souls tabletop RPG, which didn't work. Yeah, which was broken from the start.
Yeah, they have a lot of missteps with their games. Sorry,
yeah. Yeah. So I think Monster Hunter is probably one of the most successful. They're really leaning heavily into licensed IP stuff, but Monster Hunter World was like surprisingly a faithful representation of the kind of stuff you do in those games. But
you and Chris played that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we had a lot of fun with that. But yeah, they because they were supporting 5e with what they were calling epic encounters, which were miniature based, like single kind of boss battles basically that you could kind of slot into your campaigns for D&D, and they had nice miniatures and a kind of higher end board game style miniatures and interesting settings and a little map, little grid to play on. So that was their first step into kind of tabletop. And then after Dark Souls came out, they said, hey, let's do a Dark Souls RPG based on 5e. And at character creation, they kind of broke the game. So, whoops. I don't know. Yeah.
The rules don't matter. You're supposed to die in Dark Souls anyway.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, they've done quite a few. There's things. Yeah, it's pretty long. Their list. Yeah, that's right. They did a Horizon Zero Dawn, Resident Evil. Oh, that's right. Their original thing that I'm not sure how much it took off because it's on clearance in a lot of places. Is Bardsung. Bardsung was kind of a fantasy board game. I think that was their original IP. But otherwise, everything else is all licensed stuff. So they've they did a Sea of Thieves board game. So they've done a lot of licensed stuff, but they're in that they got a little bit nicer than standard board game miniatures. They're paintable and decent, especially the larger scale monsters in Monster Hunter are beautiful. They're really, really well done. But I don't know, it's kind of rough relying on the licensed IP stuff because it just kind of... Oh, and that's right. God Tier, as in TEAR, was another one of their original attempts to do kind of a miniatures combat game. I think similar to Guildball, it came out, the timing for it coming out wasn't great. There were other games that did what it did better. It just had, its own original style, but not that compelling for people. That's right. God.
Yeah, I remember that coming out and then nothing.
Yeah, yeah. So they've tried, and so maybe that's why they've more recently just kind of leaned into the licensed IP stuff, because then you've got at least some guaranteed sales. Even if you don't go to crowdfunding, you'll have some sales. Oh, and they did a Pac-Man card game. Come on, Pac-Man card game. Yeah, so I don't know. Well,
Pac-Man 5th edition game.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, 5th edition. Yeah, and I keep seeing Animal Adventures. I think that was a recent crowdfunding thing. I'm not sure. I've never heard anything about it though. But
I had to get one WotC dig in tonight.
Yes. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. I mean, and they did release a sequel to Monster Hunter. They did the Iceborne setting. So lots of plastic monsters coming out for Monster Hunter, but other than that, yeah.
That's half of Kickstarter is just plastic monsters.
Right. Oh, that's right. And didn't they do? We talked a little bit about they're trying to kind of reset the Dark Souls game, the Dark Souls board game, and do kind of a starter set for that where they're limiting the miniatures. They're using the miniatures they've already produced and they're putting it in a board game with kind of like more streamlined, things that people complained about the rules. They tried to
clean up rules. Yeah.
Clean it up and release it as just a board game of this because I think the difficulty spike and everything was not done to people's satisfaction for Dark Souls. So they're trying to kind of relaunch it. So yeah, we'll see. They sure do produce a lot of stuff, man.
Mm-hmm. But not with the legs, really.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. Oh yeah, Devil May Cry. They did a Devil May Cry board game.
Didn't even know there was a Devil May Cry game. That's hilarious.
Wow. Yeah. So they've licensed a lot of stuff. I don't know. They need to. Yeah, and we'll see once whatever, if they're still going to have a relationship with D&D. We'll see whatever this new thing is, and if there's space for them to support that. But interesting. So yeah, their first miniatures game is now archived for all future people to try out. So we'll see, and it'll be it's funny though because once you I'm sure on all their documents they still have their all their legal, their copyright and everything. But if these rules are out there, these STLs are out there, but it becomes something else. Like, people look at this game and fix it, basically make their 2.0 version, and that becomes popular. That'll be interesting to see how the company would respond to something like that, if they would embrace it or if they would say, cease and desist. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So good luck, Steamforged. And, it's an interesting experiment. And I think at the very least, the people, the kind of diehard fans, the people that liked that game and always hoped that it did better, it's nice that they still have access to it, and they could, if they want to try to get somebody into it, they've got all the miniatures, but they want to get somebody new into it, there is an option.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that download the files. I doubt many of them will actually do anything with them. But,
right.
Yay.
But they'll be
got some eyes on their website. Good job.
Right. Yeah, and just to kind of remind people, yes, we used to have original ideas. It wasn't all Devil May Cry. So, you can play the Masons and the Brewers for free forever. So, interesting. Yeah, just like smashed in the head with a barrel or some kind of tankard by a Brewers Guild member. But yeah, so that is going to do it for this week. A lot of odd little stories. Yeah, I didn't include, there was stuff that wasn't quite tabletop related, but funny little things, like there was a judgment in China where they supported the copyright of AI art. So China has already decided that things generated by AI generative software is copyrightable. So that's going to be weird, because I thought China was one of the companies that respected no copyright, no IP.
Yeah.
But in this case,
they're protecting the pirates is what they're doing.
Right. So if there's, I guess somebody, that was a member of the Communist Party played around with AI images, and they needed to have their back when the lawsuits, when it came to court. Yeah, I don't know. Very odd. But we'll see. So more fun next week. So that will do it for this week. Where can people find you, Matt?
Oh, I am on the threads in Instagram. It's at Hargold, HARGALD, talking a little bit about the Black Sword hack game I've been running, which is sort of a forced beta for the adventure I want to put up on Drive-Thru, which I'm going to be hitting you up for art soon.
Oh, good.
On.
Very good.
But yeah, I've been that, and tomorrow night, hopefully don't get killed in some Blade Runner.
Yeah, that's
right back here on this channel.
Yes. So we'll be doing the official start. We had the opening scene, character creation, and the opening scene, kind of a session 0 last week. So yeah, this week will be the beginning of Case File 2. So the clock will begin to tick for our Blade Runners.
And how about you?
Oh, so I am. Scheduling didn't work out this week, so I didn't do the cartoon stream. But usually, I on Wednesday nights, North American time, do a live stream of my abuse cartoons, which is domestic abuse on. Go Comics. You can read the archive, gocomics.com/domestic abuse. It's a single panel gag cartoon. I've been doing it for a very, very long time, so there's lots of it to read. And I draw that cartoon every week and show you some things from Japanese convenience stores. And that's Abuse Cartoons on all social media. And if you want to support what we're doing here with the weekly, consider becoming a weekling. So you can visit patreon.com/upturntable and support us and kind of connect with us and let us know what you want to see on the weekly, what topics you want to see discussed, and basically get access to the full audio of this live stream is on the RSS feed, and there's exclusive content and things on there that you don't get anywhere else. And also upturntable.com is the website. And that's where you can find links to everything, downloads and audiobooks and all of our actual play series. Everything is available up there. And then Upturn Table on both YouTube and Twitch for all of our live streams. So subscribe to one of those channels, and then you'll get notifications when we go live. We stream to basically all those places, even Twitter, even formerly known as Twitter. We're still streaming too. So when things go live, there's lots of places to find us, whatever is easier. So upturntable.com or Upturn Table on all social media. And yeah, that will do it for this week. So we'll be back with the weekly next week. And thank you so much, Matt, for helping me out with the with this week.
You bet. Anytime.
All right. So we'll be back in just a moment. And thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Goodbye. All right. There we go. Hey! Nice. Oh, people are disputing your Paul turning into a worm. It was Lito, his son.
Yeah. Whatever.
Right.
You knew what I meant, Miguel. You knew.
Yeah, I can't imagine an RPG following Dune it's all 6 books, right? All the way to Chapter House Dune, whatever the last book is. Yeah, pretty crazy. But
I haven't read any of his kids' books, and I don't
me
think
neither.
I want to, because I heard he kind of goes back on some of the basics of Dune, like with the artificial intelligence and maybe like an alien life form or something, which was a whole thing with Dune, was there were no aliens.
Right.
Anything that looked like an alien was just genetically modified. So
yeah, that's weird. And it's probably the influence, because all those books I think have a ghostwriter. Basically, there's like a science fiction writer that he was working with. So it's a weird. So I've heard real mixed stuff, and it just seems like it's like a, the writing level is like Dark Horse Comics quality, like, filling in the blanks of some world that things you didn't really need, done, like a prequel, Atreides series, and like, stuff that like, sets up stuff that we're fine.
So like half of modern Star Wars stuff, basically.
Yeah, right. Yeah, basically. Yeah. That's what they were trying to do, is that kind of thing. Yeah. So I don't know. Oh wow. So Miguel was saying for so Catalyst officially renovated their rules to get the bigots out of BattleTech. Wow. Yeah, it's so strange, because didn't they previously, like a few years back, they went after one of their authors, right? They had an author that had written some of the pretty significant novels for BattleTech, and they found some book or some social media post or something that he did that they didn't like. So I think they removed him from the removed his books from the canon.
Speaking of book censoring, did you hear about the whole thing with the Hugo Awards?
Oh no.
Oh man. So the Hugo Awards are being held, or were held recently, in China this year. And one of the authors that, it's done by sort of this like voting, kind of like a voting with elimination rounds kind of thing is how you get to your Hugo winner. And one of the authors who I think got third most votes, and who had already won a bunch of other prestigious sci-fi book awards, and was kind of like an odds-on favorite to win this award. When it got down to the final round, they were eliminated with no explanation. And this person is an American-born Chinese author who drew on pre-communist Chinese history for a lot of their inspiration. Then they were suddenly removed from the list. So bad. Like, that's probably going to kill the Hugo Awards. That's bad.
Yeah, that's why would they host them in China? China doesn't. I mean, that's really strange.
So it's a big con that they have in China, apparently.
Wow, and especially knowing that one of the contenders, had, things not friendly to the party, stuff that wouldn't survive censorship in China. That's really weird.
Yeah,
wow.
So they it's even worse, because they released like the voting results on the last possible day that they could release them. And it's broken down in this like chart for each round of the voting. And after like, I think it was the second round, the votes for that book never change, and there's no explanation. Like, they never get more votes as other books drop off.
Wow.
Right.
Right.
It was so shady. So shady.
Wow. Yeah. So I don't know why. I mean, there is even under communism, China has produced some really good sci-fi. I think that's something that's
Free Body Problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good.
There's some stuff that the world needs to be exposed to, because just like Soviet era, Russian sci-fi, there's really interesting thinking and creative ideas that kind of get can go below the radar of the censors. As like, people's real feelings about their situation that can be expressed through sci-fi that I don't think censors really catch on to very easily. So yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame that something like that would happen. But yeah, I think you're right. That's going to basically, the Hugo Awards are going to be
it's not going to be reviewed as a legitimate thing,
Yep, just compromised. Yeah. So who does China think should win this year? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's too bad. Wow, I didn't hear that. That's very very depressing. Yeah, and I wonder because it wasn't there. I don't think it was the Hugo Awards, but it was some sci-fi fantasy book award. But didn't they have George R.R. Martin announcing some winners or something? And he offended some Asian American writer by saying something. He said just something. He mispronounced something or said something off the cuff, and made somebody angry. And so that whole award ceremony was tarnished because of the insensitivities of their visiting judge or their guest judge or whatever. Wow. Yeah. That's right. Abyss says, yeah, forbidding people to buy your products has always worked out well. If you don't like my politics, don't buy my game. Yeah. Oof. It's really really weird. Uh-oh. Miguel is going in on Enforcers. Necromunda Enforcers. Nice. The Judge Dreads of the Necromunda setting.
Speaking of 40K, what's his name is going to do a Highlander reboot.
Henry Cavill?
Henry Cavill, yeah.
That could be good.
He's going to be busy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got when they said they'd finally inked the deal with Amazon, they listed all of his current projects, and it's like, whoa, yeah, he's got a lot going on. I hope he has time for Amazon, because especially if it's a streaming series, it takes a lot longer than filming a movie. So it's a lot more commitment schedule wise.
His Scottish accent can only get better than Christopher Lambert's was.
Yes. I love his just weird indeterminate accent, like when he's not trying to be Scottish, when he was just in the modern times, like, what is that? But I think that works for someone that has lived a long time. Your accent would probably get pretty fucked up, but
yeah. Well, then how do you explain? Like Sean Connery's was clearly Scottish,
right?
But he was some Egyptian Spanish samurai guy.
That's right. Oh man, yeah, that's too bad. That first movie is great, but they did not follow through with that, especially it doesn't make any sense, like how they tried to change.
Oh yeah, when they turned him into aliens or whatever, that was so stupid.
Yeah.
And Will, who we play with, is a ridiculous fan of the TV series, and I thought it was awful.
Wow, yeah, that's right. Highlander, the TV series. Wow.
Yeah, I give him shit all the time. He likes a lot of that syndicated fantasy and sci-fi stuff that I'm just like, really?
Yeah. Yeah, the 90s. Yeah, forget about how much of that stuff was in production. It was crazy. And I don't think any of it was really good, like all that. I mean, I'm probably going to offend somebody, but like the Hercules and Xena and all that stuff. Yeah, it was not watchable, but it was like there was so much of it. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that Xena and Hercules got away with was they were kind of winking at the audience a lot, you know? So it was like, okay, this is just cheese, whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I was a fan. Or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. That's kind of lost in that stuff, especially because that was like the rise of cable, like basic cable. And so that stuff just kind of bounced around on basic cable forever.
Yeah. It took reality television to kill all that crap.
Yeah, that's true. Low budget fantasy. And it's funny, because I guess they were like trying to continue a tradition of the 80s cheesy, sword and sandals, B movie fantasy stuff that existed. But yeah, it's so funny. Yeah. Oh. Speaking of bad fantasy television, I finally.
Uh-oh.
So I've been playing around with this Google TV thing, and I found a just one of the shows. It was incredibly hard to find. It popped up as a recommendation. I'm like, there it is. So Faster Purple Worm Kill showed up on this recommendation, and I had to download Plex, this app, which is a whole other kind of like, ad supported streaming thing. On this Google Android TV thing, and I watched episodes of. I just watched the character introductions because the episodes were pretty terrible. Of one of those D&D shows, one of those fast channel D&D shows.
Oh, the things. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
right.
the officially sanctioned Wizards of the Coast and Fester Purple Worm Kill is just a Beetle and Grimm kind of promotional thing because I think the host. The host is one of the founders of Beetle and Grimm, and then the actor guy from Scream is always, in there in some capacity. Matthew Lillard, yeah, he's always around. There's all kinds of Beetle and Grimm merch on the set, and it's basically they're just kind of doing a greatest hits. And who knows how long ago this stuff was filmed? It could be like years ago, but. It's all like the Dimension 20, Critical Role, just like, people that have worked and been associated with big actual plays, streaming things already, kind of brought together. And they do a one shot where your players are just going to be killed. So they have and so the title of every episode is everyone is killed by, and then something, falling out of an airship or whatever.
So they're not taking it seriously at all.
Yeah. So it's, everyone's name is like, Magic McMagic Face, and, everyone's character is garbage. And some people are doing like insane voices that you're just like, really? You're going to do that for 40 minutes? Okay, great. Yeah, it's just, and it's that weird mix of like geek celebrity. So of course, Will Wheaton shows up, and
not the Wheaton.
Yeah, so it's just all the people that you would kind of expect to be there are there, and it's. I mean, it's shot on a TV sound stage. The production looks really expensive. They've got the opening titles and stuff are really professionally produced, but the show itself, like the host isn't very professional. Host it reminds me of like kind of G4 TV quality, stuff. But but it was funny because it was recommended, and then I had to install the app, and then when I installed the app, I couldn't find it. I guess it's really, really hard to find. Like those shows are really hard to find, but they've just kind of, I think they paid for the production of those, and then just kind of threw them out onto all of those weird ad-based streaming platforms. So things like, Plex and whatever Amazon does, and like Tubi and all that stuff that's out there. That's just.
Is it on Pluto?
It may be, yeah.
I'll have to look for it on Pluto. That's hilarious.
It's weird because on Plex there's a D&D channel, and I don't know what else it plays, but the schedule of the streaming schedule was mostly just the 80s TV, Saturday morning cartoon. So that was that was like going on and on. But then I moved forward in the schedule. And there were some other kind of random things I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't recognize what any of that was. So there's some kind of D&D content on an official Plex D&D channel, but none of it is any of those shows that they talked about, the cooking show or any of those weird comedy shows that they talked about in their promotion.
So is Plex a Google-owned thing, or is it something else?
No, I think that's I think originally that was just a piece of software that would allow you to stream. Stream basically like illegal movies and things onto any of your devices or TVs in your house.
Yeah.
But then they had to go legitimate, and I think they became an app, and so they became an ad-supported streaming app. But originally, the thing I knew as Plex was you could set up a local server, and basically anything that you had, any video content you had on your local PC, you could stream to your TVs.
Oh, okay.
But now it's a thing, yeah. Now it's some kind of channel. But it's really, really strange. I was just so surprised to see that logo. I'm like, oh yeah, that story, that series is a thing. But it looks pretty old. Like people, when I've seen some of the actual play, people more recently, like in promotion videos for Wizards of the Coast or whatever, their hair and everything is totally different. So this may be something they filmed like 5 years ago, and it's just been sitting.
It was just in the can.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially because of the choices of the people seem a little dated already. These are already we've seen you do your thing. The selection is a bit old. I don't know.
Yeah, Wheaton has run out of juice. He's back to doing all the Star Trek podcasts and stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the extra nerd juice anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Because he had like a tabletop board games like streaming show and stuff. Like he had a lot of
the scandal ridden one. Yes.
Yeah. I forget what I never.
Not really. One scandal, but it just goes. It reaffirms my belief that he's a jerk. He had an issue because they play a different, usually board game every episode, and they kept getting flack for getting rules wrong. And apparently, one point he had a little meltdown about it, and basically on social media blamed all the producers and assistants for screwing up the rules, and it wasn't his fault.
Wow.
And I'm like, you're trying to portray yourself as this big time board game guy, and you didn't take the time to learn the rules. Or you did, and you screwed it up, but you're blaming somebody else.
Right. Yeah, you've always been able to blame the producers in the past. So, yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I didn't. I didn't.
Not a fan. Still got that airport story to tell someday.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll do a special episode. We'll do a special live stream. Nice. Yeah. That's funny. So I don't know. That content is just it's just out there. I think that they just that probably is already under the loss column on some tax return in previous years for Wizards of the Coast.
Well, I mean, they did it literally after they liquidated their entertainment division,
right,
media division. So it's really at cross paths with them. It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it'll be strange to see what they do moving forward, because even though it wasn't financially successful, I think they're greenlighting another D&D movie. So it's probably going to be it's going to be a huge step down in budget, but there's probably all the money's going to go to some recognizable actors, and then they'll just tell a very 90s story and eliminate as many computer effects as possible. But yeah, we'll see. Nice.
I hope they shoot their halflings in a Peter what's his face style forced perspective, and not that whatever that was that they did with the guy on the chair.
Yeah, that was weird. Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. Abyss made a good point. Yeah, so the old world has no Mordheim. Yeah, so Mordheim doesn't exist in this old world.
So no Mordheim, I forget what it's called, but when the Skaven blew up Talia, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it would probably predate that. So you're not going to get the Skaven. You're not going to get, like I said, the Empire and Dwarven Steam and tech probably isn't going to be as advanced, if at all, and the Black Powder. Yeah, it's just it's going to be generic fantasy.
Yeah, it's really odd. And I guess they think people like those old rules enough that they just want to play that with that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess they'll keep the rules more simplified. They won't be introducing very complicated factions. So yeah, very limited magic, and yeah, I don't know. Weird. Yeah, right. Superman jumped in and said, "Did I miss the conversation about how Cubicle 7 is releasing too many Warhammer TTRPGs?" uh, yeah, that I wonder if that is a they just got contact. They were contacted by Games Workshop. Okay, so here's another license for you guys to buy. Are you interested? Like, if we said no, would that hurt our existing licenses? Perhaps.
Yeah, maybe just a little.
Yeah, so that's really like unfortunate if they are doing something like that, because I think it's only going to hurt Cubicle 7 being able to sell, like, like you're saying, brand confusion and things. They're going to be hurting themselves just to maintain what they already have, and Games Workshop doesn't care. Games Workshop just says you can pay us for this too if you want, and just keep it going. That's really really weird.
I'm waiting for all this stuff going on with Yemen attacking shipping lines.
Yes.
I'm waiting for Games Workshop to use that as an excuse.
Yes.
To raise their prices.
Yes. Oh man, yeah. Well, definitely, because they've been blaming whatever robots they have in Memphis, Tennessee, like running a a warehouse that they're not able to fulfill things in a timely manner. So yeah, who knows? I'm sure it's going to become everybody's kind of focus. Yeah, but I had a really weird. I guess this is like, it's completely. Nothing is involved in that, but I had a FedEx international delivery that literally got from California to Japan in 2 days. And it was like the lowest level. It wasn't like hundreds of dollars. It was like their lowest level. I forget what the cheap international service. So they literally must have had some space or something on a plane, and it just got right over there. It was amazing. I've never seen anything like that before. So everything else has been multiple weeks. I've had things that have been out, like stuff from Poland, from Spellcrow. Takes about a month to get to Japan, to get through customs and everything. So things have been really, really slow, but that was amazing. 2 days.
A lot of times it's customs that makes it take longer too. Like, they'll sit on it for a little bit.
Yeah. And I get a lot of things that come through Japanese customs that have been open completely and all retaped, and they like go crazy. I guess because they're Japanese, they go crazy retaping stuff. So it's basically got that, we apologize for opening this, customs tape, and it's just like the whole box is coated in it. Yeah, they don't want to be blamed. Wow. Yeah, so it's really weird, and we'll never know, and maybe even Games Workshop isn't going to know if this old world revival was even a good idea, because that original stuff that they showed looked very, very weird. Like, they had some early Kislev, pre-production sketches and stuff for new miniatures, and it looked very Age of Sigmar, very weird, magical, like very strange, over the top,
exaggerated,
kind of design. So I don't know what they're thinking. Oh, Abyss likes the Guildball miniatures. Yeah, Steamforge. Yeah, Steamforge can they can do some good stuff.
Go get those STLs, Abyss.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but he admitted, Abyss admitted too. Yeah, 3D printing is such a hassle. Parts can break. Yeah, right. Because if you harden the resin too long, it becomes really brittle. Like, you have to have this, like, there's a sweet spot with how long you expose the resin to the UV to kind of harden the outside of it, and especially for the small 6mm stuff. Yeah, some stuff that I did too long, it just crumbles like a potato chip. Yeah, it gets incredibly brittle. So you got to be.
Oh man. So the Conan people, I didn't even know this. Somehow I didn't get a notification, but they have another Kickstarter, and it's almost over.
Oh yeah,
it's the Red Nails expansion, which is one of my favorite Conan stories.
Yeah,
it only has 3 days left, and it's $757,000.
Wow.
So that game is still going strong, apparently.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah. People are still supporting it. And I think they had. I looked initially at the pledge levels, and they had you could get just about everything that they'd been producing. The original box set, the original kicks, the stretch goals for the early stuff. Yeah, a lot of stuff was available.
The
Wow.
Red Nails, just the Red Nails expansion is $75, which I'm sure it has a ton of miniatures and new boards and everything. Which so I'm like, I haven't even painted the last two boxes.
Right. Yeah, and there was a like a PvP expansion or something that they also they were talking about something else they were adding to that. Yeah.
Group really wants to play it. I gotta quit being lazy and paint some miniatures.
Yeah. Or take a look at because I mean with like dipping the kind of washes and stuff that you can dip and then contrast paints, you could probably batch stuff pretty quick, You could probably do some pretty decent looking something was the EVE Online. Yeah, we talked about maybe we'll save that for next week, but Titan Forge, they launched their campaign. They're doing the miniatures for the EVE Online game. It looks insanely expensive, and they did a couple expansions and stuff. But I really want to see those ships. I really want to see how they did those ships.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Nice. Oh, Abyss backed it. What did you back, Abyss? I missed it. Oh wow, $99 for almost 200 miniatures. Oh yeah, I think. Oh yeah, that's a recent message. So yeah, maybe Abyss is talking about Conan. 200 miniatures. Oh my God. What they keep doing that too. Yeah.
99. That must be with one of the core boxes or something.
That's a lot.
Wow.
Nice.
Oh, €99.
Oh yeah.
Is the base game.
Oh, okay.
Plus the extras from the first campaign. That's pretty good. That's what I did originally, and it was a ton of miniatures.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and there was some really good stuff in there because I remember pulling some of those Conan miniatures for some of the D&D and stuff we were doing, like the giant snakes and stuff. There's some really cool.
Oh yeah.
Really
I painted the snake. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Nice.
They have a Frazetta expansion? I didn't know they had a Frazetta expansion.
No, not a Frazetta expansion. Nice. So miniatures, based on the... They want
3 days ago? Yeah, I'm not. I'm going to... I cannot.
They want it so bad. Oh, cool. Nice.
Sounds like Abyss played that Bard Song game and did not approve.
Yeah. I don't think it did much of anything, and it so quickly, even on the Steamforged website, so quickly was discounted. It got really suspicious. You're like, okay, how good can this be if they're like begging you to buy it? Yeah. Please. Oh, Miguel wants Chris inside the team.
Cat Girl.
Oh, that's that's we were just talking about that. I think that was something Miguel messaged me. I can't remember.
Is that from a game?
Yeah, there's some yes, the so it was a cosplay thing. Oh, BattleTech, that's right. Yeah, it's a BattleTech
it's a BattleTech lore.
Yes,
I should have figured.
Yes. Yeah, various manga and anime have been featuring cat girls, and certain people, use cat girls as their avatars on battletech.com, and so they became part of the lore. Nice.
Speaking of stuff like that, I got the mutant stuff for alchemy and the Forbidden Land stuff for alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't looked. I don't know if it has the GenLab Alpha stuff in there, but I would really dig running a GenLab Alpha adventure. And then you're gonna have to draw everybody's characters, like their animal characters.
Cool. Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, and I think you can, if you just get the PDF, I think you could run whatever kind of campaign you wanted, and you just need the character creation rules for the Gen Lab Alpha. So that would be all you would need. Yeah, did you see the Ad Astra? They just announced they freely just announced the Ad Astra, so off the planet. So your your party tries to escape
space.
Yes, yes. So that's funny. Cat girls in BattleTech. Nice. Yeah, that's funny. Oh wow! Oh yeah, that Blaine Pardoe, the guy that they kind of blacklisted. So he not only wrote novels, but he was involved in a lot of the old source books. That's crazy. Funny.
I don't know. Like, to me, like, a lot of that stuff is, I don't care what your politics are as a creator until you make your politics part of what you're creating.
Right.
You know, like, if I can read or watch or play something and I can see, oh, okay, this is where he's coming from, then you've gone too far, in my opinion. And if a company wants to fire you at that point, I get it.
Yeah. Well, no, that makes sense, because I mean, you know, if you're writing for an IP, if you're writing for something that's, you know, not even yours, and you alter the setting, or, you know, do a self insert. I think that's the thing we've been dealing with way too much, is the you know, the poor writers that you know, started out writing fan fiction on their live journals or whatever, and it's just all of this weird self-insert stuff, which sticks out horribly. Like they're not learning the setting and like writing something compelling in that setting with the limitations of the setting, either like limitation of technology or politics or whatever. They want to, you know, insert something that sticks out really bad, like in you know, kind of either political direction. I think that's it's just really ridiculous, and definitely ruins. Definitely ruins things, and I think people have been doing it. I don't know. I don't know what the goal is, because I do think people, you know, there are activist creators that think they can bring about social change if they embed, you know, strong enough messages in there. I think they legitimately believe that, but I don't think anybody that doesn't see that stuff coming. You know, it's just it's not done well.
It's ham-handed a lot.
Right. So yeah, that's very strange. We're seeing that in a lot of media.
I also think it's funny that, like, because there's a pretty good active RPG discussion community, or whatever you want to call it, on Threads, right? Everyone's pretty cool, but I do think it's funny that a lot of the younger folks who do have a lot of very, you know, progressive attitudes and, you know, about stuff, which is fine, are also the ones who are always inserting sex into their RPGs. Like they're always just the horniest players in the world, and it cracks me up that they're going to go that route, but also be really picky about what you say about other things, you know, which I thought was, I don't know, weird.
No, I think that is funny, and I wonder if that's a product of like internet culture, of kind of growing up on the internet, because you're kind of allowed to do that. You're kind of allowed to insert sex, like you're exposed to that kind of content, and you're allowed to insert it in a lot of places where it shouldn't be. So it's kind of it feels more normal, and it feels more normalized. Like we came from that Reagan era weird conservative where everything was so shocking. So we're much more conscious of that, and but you know, everything was accessible. The things that some of these youngsters have seen, I think, would have broke my brain, my 1980s brain.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because it's like the same people who brought us the safety tools and the X card are the people talking about their oversexed bard who's humping like mushroom men and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
some weird uh, confusion there.
No, I think that's true. Yeah, yeah. I wonder. But oh yeah, we didn't we didn't get to talk about that. But Chris got a look at the. I think it's over now, or it's ending very soon. Chris got a look at the crowdfunding page for the deck of sexy things.
Oh, really?
And it's just about as bad. And I don't want to, insult the artists that they hired, but the work that they showed was not. It was a real weird mix of like digital painting, kind of pinup illustration, and then that weird 3D stuff, that kind of almost poser art, like cheap 3D model stuff. That is just a bunch of wigs and accessories slapped onto these generic models. So it was weird. And so they were trying to be inclusive to all gender and sexuality, like the whole entire spectrum. And it was like, oh wow, there's two girls. Oh, there's a guy and a girl. Oh, there's a guy with dark hair and a girl. Like there was not any sort of range of anything. Because
wasn't it supposed to be sex and gender agnostic?
Yeah. But it just isn't the and so basically I think to do that you have to hire a huge diverse group of artists. That's the only way you can do it, because you can't get people to make something sexy that they don't think is sexy, draw something. I think it's really challenging to do that. So it was I think they were just banking on that name, getting them some attention, and it did. It made me laugh, so that's why that's why I tortured Chris with it, is because I thought for sure that would be a funny thing. But it's them claiming that to be a solution to the Randy player problem. I don't think is that's not going to work that way.
No.
Yeah, but a little bit disappointing in the execution there. I don't think, but I guess it's kind of what you'd expect. All about the putting that forward. But if Wizards of the Coast produces their own deck of sexy things, well, then there you go. It'll be exclusively available on their digital platform.
It'll just be pictures of Kyle in a hot tub.
Yeah, that's right. The Hot Tub King. Yeah. Hot Tub King of Central California, wherever he was based. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to next week. We're gonna have to update because it's gonna be a year. Not quite a year yet, but it's gonna be a year next week.
Oh, buy your party hats now.
Yeah, happy birthday, Kyle's pandering. Yeah, we'll have to see. How that goes.
Is this real? Miguel said that Catalyst made 2 books called Free Taiwan, one for Shadowrun, one for BattleTech.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
That'll get the China bots after us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, that's funny. I remember there was a war game that World War II setting game where they broke down all countries' allegiances and everything, and they printed Taiwanese flags. The era correct Taiwanese flags, but because they were printing it in China, they wouldn't. The factory wouldn't let them print these flags, even though according to that era, that was pre-communist China, it was correct. So what they had to do is print just a generic Chinese flag for Taiwan, and then they sent you in an envelope printed in the U.S. the historically accurate Taiwan flags to put on to cover up all of the Chinese printing they had to do. Yeah, what a pain in the ass. Yeah.
What was it before the end of the revolution? It was called like Formosa or something, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
The island.
Yeah. I forget. But and that was even. I think that even came up that the Taiwan flag was on Maverick's jacket in the Top Gun sequel, and they had to digitally remove it for international releases. What a pain.
I feel like we might be kind of coming out of that Hollywood pandering to China.
Mm-hmm.
Like they haven't made enough money doing that.
Right.
So maybe we're not going to see as much of that. I hope.
Yeah, and I think China's film industry is doing better and better. They're producing less crap and more like films people actually want to see. So yeah, I think they're going to actually start. It might be nice because we might actually start seeing good Chinese films like entering film festivals and things. Because it seems like they're loosening up like creatively what they're letting people do, because there's some like indie production level budget level movies that people have been talking about coming that have come out of China that have been actually interesting. It's not just historical dramas or these like weird over the top like CG things that are based on Chinese myth or whatever. They've been doing some interesting stuff, so they may be kind of loosening some of the restrictions and letting them actually produce something. So then there'll be no need for Hollywood or Bollywood or anybody. But they also have that weird system where they pre-sell movies. So movies are already successful before they're even made, because while they're in production, they negotiate with the theaters, how much you're going to pay us to
Really?
play this movie. So all the money is made before the film is even finished. So it doesn't even matter what the film is.
That seems risky for theaters.
Yeah, right. Yes. A very weird system. But yeah, they've talked about that before. So yeah, not a very friendly environment. Yeah. So hopefully we'll see though. It's just going to get weirder and weirder. Yeah. Not going too political, but I think there's some interesting things that are going to affect the American election that they weren't expecting to. A lot of swing states contain a lot of Muslim communities that are not particularly happy about certain support by the U.S. So that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
Yeah, but they're screwed because the big orange pumpkin man doesn't.
Oh yeah, there's no alternative.
Really
yeah, that's right. You're basically, it's just a protest. Yeah, you're not. There's no alternative. It's just because I think they said that it was basically a protest vote, that some people were just leaving the president selection blank on the ballot in primaries just to make a statement. But we'll see. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's no choice. Has there ever been a choice? I think that's funny.
Yeah, give it a couple more years, Jeremy, and it'll be like me on your doorstep going, hey,
right.
Teach me how to expatriate.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I didn't mind spending the pandemic here as opposed to in the US. It seemed a lot less eventful on this side of the world.
Yeah.
Even though we were much closer to ground zero, it was much more much more relaxing. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah. It's very funny.
Abyss is trying to turn this into a debate about Middle East politics. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, well, yeah, he brought up Yemen, so that's the. That's funny. It is interesting though. How big these systems are, like the global kind of international shipping, how easy that kind of stuff is to interfere with. If you need to make a statement, you need to hurt the bottom line of some of these global companies. It's not that hard to do. It's surprisingly easy to do. Yeah,
they've had it pretty easy for the last 50 years. So
yeah, I was really surprised. Wow. All right. Well, let's wrap this up and get ready for Blade Runner tomorrow. Yeah, I think
another lung ripped out of my chest or something.
Yes. Just roll low on that that D12. Yeah. But yeah, it should be fun. And I'm not sure how soon we're going to get into the real weirdness, but oh yeah, and it'll be fun because there's a couple of questions, like things that came up in the previous case file. I want to ask if they actually happened, because that might have some fun effects, like things that were kind of mentioned. I'm going to ask if those actually happened, because that'll have some consequences in this case file. So I think that'll be good.
I'm intrigued. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I was surprised in the text for this case file. I was surprised how many options they had to give if this person died in the first, the NPC. If this NPC died in the first case file, so I guess some people can run this pretty bloody, where it's just like every informant, everybody's just like, no, you die, because they have to do alternatives for it. If this person died in the previously, then they wouldn't be here.
They do, like on the Blade Runner group on Facebook, like a lot of people are like building these big tactical map setups and talking about running these ongoing gunfights and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think you're really getting what this game is shooting for here.
Right. Yeah. Well, one or two lucky shots and you're down. Yeah.
But you do you, I guess.
Right. Yeah, that's really true. All right. Well, yeah, looking forward to it, Matt. Can't wait to see how this unfolds, and especially I think Terry's character is going to be a great kind of X factor. We don't know how he's going to interpret some of this stuff. If it's anything,
the wide-eye rookie.
Yes, if it's anything like Deathmatch Island, it should be fun.
I just kill everybody. All right.
Yes, it'll turn into a last man standing. Oh no! All right. Well, everybody, thanks for watching, and everything is. So I uploaded to the members section for YouTube. So click the join button to get access to it. It's the base membership is super cheap, and you can listen to all 11 hours of. In Dementia, the third book in the trilogy. So now all 3 books are there, and I have to figure out how to get them. I think I'm just going to have to put them as audio files on the website and then link to them, for some other way, because Patreon will not accept giant audio files. So all that work is for nothing. All right, but yes, so. That is up there, and we'll be doing Blade Runner tomorrow, and we'll see you next week. I have no idea, how long the sustained weird servitude is going to happen for Chris. So we'll see how it's going.
Well, I'll be here in the box if you need me.
All right, I'll keep the TV handy, and I'll set it up on the table for Matt. So thanks for watching or listening, and we'll see everybody next time.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.